Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 2nd of November and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. In the today's video, we'll be discussing the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. We'll see all the articles in the detail, their background, the way forward and how the articles can be used for the examination we'll be taking up. Now, before starting up, I would like to tell you that if you are new here, that you can download the explainer PDF from the Telegram channel. In this explainer PDF, the detailed notes of all the articles that we are going to discuss along with the background and some suggestions have been given. And you can download these notes from the Telegram. Link for the channel has been given in the description box. Moreover, you can directly visit there and type Thinking Palette by Sahil, and there you can get these notes. Fine. In the last, we have also taken up a mains practice question which you can also practice. Now, before going on, let's take first of all the overview of the entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are actually important. Okay, and meanwhile, good morning everyone. Rajeshwari, Sandeep, something sociological, Hardik, Niranjan, Fawaz, Asai, Pavan. Okay, Ravi, Ankit, Anand. Good morning to everyone. Now, let's start. Okay, so first article, October's GST revenue crosses 1.5 lakh crore rupees. Now guys, see, you don't need to see month by month GST collections. However, we find this particular thing that actually the GST collections are increasing month by month, which actually shows that, that the economic revival, it is happening. Okay, so this is the thing. Now you don't need to show that see that in which state how much percentage increase has been there. Then further moving on, Prime Minister wants a probe into the bridge collapse in Gujarat. Fine. With respect to the examination, very unfortunate event has happened, but with respect to the examination, you don't need to go too much into the detail in this particular thing. Okay, then mulling remote vote facility for NRIs. Now we'll see this particular article, that what is remote voting, what is postal voting, and what is happening. Very good article. We'll see with respect to the exam. Then the political articles etc. has not been important. Saffron fields a turn stage for the tourist shots. Now guys, see this particular thing, that the harvest season for the saffron in the Jammu and Kashmir is starting, and to for that particular thing, Jammu and Kashmir tourism development board has invited the people to come there and to visit the harvest season, so it is a kind of a festival that is going on. Okay, then in the city section, the regional politics etc. has been given. Not important for the examination. These tenders, advertisements etc. no need, not important for the exam. So directly we'll be reaching to the editorial page, and on the editorial page, the first article, the truth about the Indian story. This article is an article which is talking about the challenges for the Indian economy, weakest link in the air pollution. So the performance of the SPCBs are being discussed. We'll see that. Then the second coming. So the article guys talks about the recently held Brazil elections. Okay, fine. In which we see this particular thing, that basically Mr. Lula had come onto the center stage, has become the president. Now the challenges, fine, and the political issues etc. have been discussed. Fine. Now guys, the article doesn't contains much of the substance relevant for our examination. Fine. So no need to go too much into the detail. Moreover, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the other countries, internal politics is not important, but if there is an event which will have impact on India, that is something that we need to see. So elections and these politics not very much important for the exam. Then reporting the rape. So this article talks about the day before yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, where they have completely banned the two-finger vaginal test onto the women who have been raped. So this is something which actually is a kind of a very important judgment that has come up by the Supreme Court. Okay, how happy are the people of Gujarat? Okay, how happy are the people of the Gujarat with the provision of basic facilities? So for the Gujarat elections, okay, all these particular data etc. are being provided, that okay, how many people feel completely satisfied, little less satisfied, and all those things. Okay, you don't need to follow this particular thing, because guys, by the time you'll write your exam, the elections would have been conducted. Okay, and these are just the opinion polls, so doesn't matters for the exam. Then coming to the text and the context page, and on to the text and the context, the first article talks about the C295, okay, and India's aircraft industry. So with respect to the GS paper number 3, India's manufacturing sector, we'll see this particular article, a very good article. Then how women subverted the traditional roles during the farm law agitations. Now This particular article, guys, will be taking up with respect to the women related issues. A very good article, a very good assessment has been made. Then coming on after that, guys, the regional politics, etc. Find regional issues not important. Penalizing doctors will help to prevent the two finger test. Fine, we'll see this particular article briefly. Pleas against the poll freebies should be listed before the three judge bench soon. Now basically, guys, we have seen that last month there were every day the articles coming on to this freebie issue. Now what is a freebie? Freebie are just the irrational promises, entitlements that are being promised by the political parties, that for example, if we win the election, we will give everybody a scooty, we'll give everybody a TV, mixer, juicer, grinder, and all such kind of a things. So freebies are something which it says that actually it is impacting the fiscal, it is impacting the finances of the state. If I give you the data, according to the Reserve Bank of India's recent report, 15 lakh crore rupees debt is there onto the state, in which these freebies have played an important, very big role. Now actually there is always a problem that what is a freebie? There is a very thin line which differentiates the freebie and the genuine social justice program. For example, education, health, fine, food grains, are they also the freebies? No, they are not the freebie. Fine. So sometimes actually even the things such as the TVs, etc., okay, they are also given. So where is the limit? Now for that particular matter, there is a case going on. Supreme Court recently provided that an expert committee having the members of RBI Finance Commission will also be constituted. All those things have happened into the past. Now actually what is happening? Basically it has been provided that a plea against the poll freebies will be listed before a three-judge bench soon. Okay. Now when this particular thing will be listed before the Supreme Court judge bench and what they will be coming out, that is actually important. So right now nothing has happened. Okay, it will be placed. Then further moving on, SEO meet. Okay, so basically SEO's virtual meet has happened. We'll see briefly that particular thing. Okay. Modi calls for roadmap to develop Mangad Dham as a global tribal destination. Is it clear or not? So basically, guys, when we talk about the Mangad Dham, Mangad Dham. It is situated near the Rajasthan Gujarat boundary, okay, and it is known for the massacre of the tribal people by the British Army in 1913. So this particular destination needs to be popularized, okay, for the as a global tribal destination. Is it clear or not? Fine. Then further moving on, after that, Xi Jinping sends condolence for the tragedy in the Gujarat that has happened. Fine. Then the political articles, etc., have been given. Okay. Independence is a key to elections. We'll see this particular article. Invasive tree spreading. We'll see this particular article. Okay. The Kerala's alternative model for industries. So basically, Kerala recently has revived a central PSU. Okay. So basically, a central PSU, that is the Hindustan Newsprints Limited, okay, which was shut down 4 years back. Now again it has been revived. That's it. Only the thing that has been provided in the article. Nothing beyond that. Fine. Then the world page. So guys, on to the world page. Fine. Basically the region, the world politics, etc., have been talked about. Drug shortage in Sri Lanka. Okay. Then we come to the business page. Now on to the business page. Understand this particular thing, that first there are these corporate trends, etc., that are there. Okay. Not very much important for the examination. And then we find this particular thing, that month to month trends. For example, the purchase, basically here we find that purchasing manager index is at 4 month low. Okay. Then the rupee, where it is going, Sensex, where it is going. Now what I mean to say is that month to month data's, day to day trends for rupee, for Sensex, okay, for month to month PMI, GST collections. Fine, you don't need to go too much into that. However, the policy related issues, economy related issues, or the developments which directly be impacting the economy, that is something which is more important. Okay. So now this article provides this particular thing, that the factory's output grow, new order is to 4 month lows. Okay. So from the past months, the PMI was actually very much at a decline, and now a kind of an ease, now at a kind of a comfort, it is coming. Is it clear? Now we find this particular thing, that finally job creation, okay, it is coming up. Okay. And into the, basically into the past a very long time, these are the positive trends that have been there. Okay. And then we have the sports page. Now that is all about the overview of the entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all the articles one by one in the detail. Okay. Now, in every class, we start with the GS quotation, and in this particular quotation, we take one quote which can be used directly in our GS papers to complement with our answers. Okay. Now, today we'll take the quote from the Malcolm Forbes. Now, Malcolm Forbes provides that the diversity is the art of thinking independently together. Okay, the art of thinking independently together. Now, when we need to think independently together, what we need? We need to have a distinct tolerance. We need to have tolerance. So, when there will be the tolerance, we will be different, but still we will be independent, and we will be able to live together. And this is when the real diversity will thrive. Now, this particular quotation can be used in the answers related to the GS paper number 1, where the Indian society and the diversity has directly been mentioned. Moreover, in the essays also, this idea can be utilized. Now, let's take the first article, the C-295 and the India's aircraft industry. Now, this is actually a very important article with respect to the GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, Indian economy. GS paper number 3, Indian economy. And within the Indian economy, the manufacturing sector and the low hanging fruits for the manufacturing sector. Low hanging fruits for the manufacturing sector. Now, let's come to this particular article. Okay, before going in this particular article, guys, I would like to give you a little bit of a background so that you can understand that actually why this article has come, what is happening. So first of all, basically when we talk about India, guys, India happens to be the world's biggest importer of the defense weaponry, and this has been provided by the CIPRI report. So according to CIPRI report, we are the biggest importer. Now, when we are that, it leads to certain problems. Number one, the valuable forex, okay, it is getting depleted. Second thing, India is always dependent on another countries, so therefore the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, it is getting defeated. Third thing is that actually when we talk about India, India aspires to be a manufacturing hub, and for that particular thing, the Make in India is also being taken up. Now the point is that we are importing the weaponry. If we become the net exporters of the weaponry, it will give a distinct push to our Make in India. Fourth, the export or the manufacturing of the weaponry, aircrafts, etc., can lead to the creation of a lot of jobs also. The employment creation can be there. So basically what has happened with the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan of 2020, government decided that rather than being the net importer, India will strive to become the exporter of the defense weaponry, aircrafts, and all such kind of a things. And in this particular direction, what has happened, actually India has taken a very ambitious goal also. So India has provided that by 2025 we will aim to increase the manufacturing turnover to $25 billion or to 1,75,000 crore rupees. This is the manufacturing turnover that we want to achieve by 2025. And in this, out of this 25 billion, $5 billion of manufacturing will be done in the aerospace and into the defense sector. So this is the goal of the government. Now in this particular direction, recently what has happened, the Prime Minister has laid the foundation stone for the C-295 transport aircraft. Okay, transport aircraft, C-295 transport aircraft. Now this is an aircraft which will be manufactured jointly by two of the organization, that is the Tata Advanced System Limited and the Airbus Defence and Space Limited. And this particular aircraft facility will be established into the Gujarat in the Vadodara. Now this is a unique kind of project that has been started. Why it is unique? Because guys, it is a first project. It is a first project in India where a military aircraft will be manufactured by the private sector. And secondly, in this particular project, there will be the distinct technology transfer that will happen. The Airbus will be training the Indian engineers so that they can manufacture these aircrafts laterwards also. Now when we talk about this C-295 transport aircraft, it will be a 5 to 10 capacity aircraft. It means it will not be a very big aircraft. It will be a relatively a smaller size aircraft which can provide the assistance, the logistic support into the area which are not accessible by land, and big aircrafts also cannot go there. Now this particular aircraft will be replacing the legacy, a kind of a aircraft which has been the workhorse for India, that is the Avro aircraft. Now the Avro aircraft is being used by the Indian Air Force since 1960s. So this Avro aircraft will be replaced. Now, guys, as a part of the contract that has been signed with the Airbus, 56 aircrafts are to be developed. Now, out of this 56 aircraft, 16 aircraft will be coming in the flyaway conditions. It means the completely ready-made, assembled from the Spain. These aircrafts will be coming. Okay, and these 16 aircrafts will come between 2023 to 2025, and the remaining 40 aircrafts will be manufactured here in India only by the Tata Advanced System and by the Airbus that I have discussed just now. And these 40 aircrafts will be delivered between 26 to 2031. Now, as I told you that the technology transfer is a very distinct thing of this particular agreement, so therefore more than 200 engineers, 240 engineers will be trained at the Airbus facility into the Spain. Then they will be manufacturing the aircraft for India. Then guys, eventually India will be able to get a distinct expertise in aircraft manufacturing, and these manufactured aircrafts can be exported to the other countries also. For example, Maldives, many South Asian countries, African countries are there where we can export these things. Now, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about India, guys, over the past few years, India has significantly expanded its footprint into the manufacturing, into the aircraft manufacturing particularly. Now you see this particular thing, guys, when we talk about both the public sector and private sector has expanded the footprints into the global supply chain. Today we are exporting the components of the aircraft to major manufacturers. I just want to tell you guys here, for example, when we take the example of Boeing. So Boeing and Airbus are the two biggest aircraft manufacturers. Fine, but both for the civilian and for the military purposes. So when we talk about the Boeing sources from India the equipments worth $1 billion. Every year $1 billion equipments are being sourced. And when we talk about uh, there are the network of 300 plus suppliers who are supplying these equipments, and 25% of equipments that are being given to the Boeing, they are coming from the MSME. Okay, so 25% of the MSMEs are contributing in that. Now when we talk about the MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises, they are always the backbone of Indian economy, and today the backbone of Indian economy, MSME, it is contributing into the aircraft's components, fine, to the Boeing. A very important thing can be mentioned in your answers, specifically if you are writing the answers for the MSME also, you can give this particular reference separately. Now further moving on, when we talk about this deal, find this the deal, it will give a very big impetus to the private industrial aerospace ecosystem. I told you that this is the first project where a private sector will make a aircraft in India and will be given to the defense forces. So it can open up an entire ecosystem. And Mahindra, they have also an expertise into that, into manufacturing the defense equipments. So many other private homegrown players can come in this particular thing. Okay, now when we talk about the C295 project, it will create more than 15,000 skilled direct and indirect jobs across the aerospace ecosystem, which is very much important because right now India is facing a kind of a very big issue onto the job employment front. Now, along with this, up till now, whatever we have discussed, it is majorly the aircraft manufacturing for military purposes. But at the civil aircrafts, commercial aircrafts, there also India is doing really good. For example, when we talk about the Airbus and Boeing, they do significant sourcing from India for their civil aircrafts also. In this particular direction, guys, it has been provided that according to the Airbus, every commercial aircraft that is manufacturing by the Airbus, it is partly being designed as well as it is partly being made in India. So this is really very big. We can further scale on this particular thing and we can become a distinct exporting nation for aircraft. I just want to give you guys one particular case study. Actually, today if you take the India is is one of the major automobile car exporter in the world. In this particular capacity, fine, we have done really good, and this is the moment similar to the automobile manufacturing revolution that happened in India. So basically, with the right momentum, with the realistic roadmap, and with the adequate support, adequate policy, we can make sure we can again script the history. We can again script the history. As India became the automobile manufacturing hub, India can also become the aircraft manufacturing hub. So this is a very ripe moment that has been there. Okay, so this is one thing. So one, we have discussed the military aircraft capability. Second, we have seen the civil aircraft capability. And guys, there is one third and a very distinct region where also India can leverage, and that is the MRO. Now what is MRO? MRO stands for maintenance, repair and overhaul. Okay, so these, now the aircrafts, they need servicing, they need repairs, okay, they need upgradations. For this particular thing also, India can emerge as a regional hub. India can cater to Southeast Asia, Africa, Middle East, okay, and the nearby regions. Fine. So this is also a kind of a distinct opportunity for India because of the prowess of Indian engineers. Okay. So these are all the low hanging fruits that India can achieve in the manufacturing, particularly into the aircraft manufacturing. Fine, very good article. Okay guys, I'll say that it is simply a 5-star article, and the components from here can effectively be used in your GS paper number 3, as we already mentioned. Now moving to the next article. Okay. Now, okay, so this particular article, guys, again, it has been taken from the text and the context section, and the article is quite very relevant. Article talks about that how the women subverted traditional roles during the farm law agitation. Okay. Now, just going in this particular article, just I want to tell you one particular thing, guys, that actually, for example, this article, the previous article that we discussed, in this article, you don't need to necessarily follow this thing that, okay, how many crore rupees deal has been signed, on which date the basically this MOU was signed, then after what month, what happened. That timeline is simply unnecessary. Okay, only the academic part we need to see. Is it clear? So I hope that you are understanding this thing also. Now, so this particular article, fine, the I told you that the heading is very relevant. Fine, how women subverted the traditional roles during the farm law agitation. This is a very important article with respect to the GS paper number 1, GS paper number 1 as well as GS paper number 2, because in both of them the women related issues are there. So issues related to the women and women movement. Okay, very very directly relevant article, women movement specifically it has been mentioned. Now, before going in this particular article, let's take little bit of a background. So guys, understand this particular thing, that Indian women has always been front runner in many of the movements that have happened into the past, be it the freedom struggle, be it the environmental conservation movement such as the Chipko Andolan, where women played a very important role. Okay, and in this, the farm protest also that started in 2020 when government brought three farm bills, okay, which got converted into the act also. They were not liked by the farmers because the farmers had a perception that it will bring the corporatization of agriculture, and the small marginal farmers will be sacrificed by that. One thing I want to tell you before going in this particular article, see, you don't need to go too much and read about that farm laws. Why? Because all these farm laws have now been repealed. So because they have been repealed, not important for the exam now. Okay, now coming to the article. So I told you that India has a long history where women has participated in the protests, in the movements, be it the colonial rule, be it the protest against the government into the independent India. Now this is something very unique, because when we talk about India, India is a patriarchal society, male dominated society, and women are always believed to be submissive. But even then, the women are coming forward and are participating into the protest alongside the men. So this is a real, we can say that this is something which shows the zest of the Indian women. Now, in the farmers movement, their protest was phenomenal. Now see this particular thing, that when we talk about the women, guys, Just one thing I want to tell you. According to the FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization, the world's 70%, 70 plus percent food by the volume, fine, is grown by the women. Fine, one thing. Second thing, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about India, the in India we have seen the feminization of agriculture, which simply means that the agricultural activities are predominantly done by the females, and this has actually happened more after the migration of the male started towards the metropolitan cities, towards the big towns. So the women have left at home, and they are actually the majorly agrarians. Okay, and even this particular thing is provided by the periodic labor force survey. According to the periodic labor force survey 2020-2021, in the pan India, 60% of the women are employed in agriculture sector, and in rural areas specifically, according to the periodic labor force survey, 75% plus women in the rural areas are employed into the agriculture sector. So feminization of agriculture has made this thing that women are actively involved into the agriculture. Now when we talk about the women, though their feminization of agriculture has happened, but actually there is a really sad situation also, that the land ownership has never been given to them. They have been denied land ownership. They are always expected to do unpaid work. Okay, this is something that is happening. But actually when these three farm laws came, what happened? The women's condition in the agriculture, which was vulnerable, which was precarious, which was poor, it became even more vulnerable. Why? Now you see this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about the agriculture, it is believed that there are the state protection mechanisms have been very much less. Now you see this particular thing, when these three farm laws were coming, it was provided that number one, MSP guarantee is not there. It provided that the private corporates can come and they can directly sign the corporates with the they can directly sign the agreements with the farms. Okay, fine. The mandis role will be diluted. All these things were coming. Now it might impact the farmer community a lot, it might impact agriculture a lot, and as women are directly involved into the agriculture, women would have got a lot more impacted. Is it clear? If there would have been any, if there have been any issue, it would have burdened the women a lot. So therefore women actively came and participated into this particular protest. Now when we talk about this farm movement, understand this particular thing. Actually earlier also the women has always brought the subtle change into the society. Now what has happened? Be it the clothing, fine, gossiping, folk songs, mocking their in laws, expressing eroticism, folk art. Through this thing, the women has always challenged the patriarchy. Women have always challenged the pre established structure that has been there. And in the recent times, women are participating into the sport activity. They are representing India at the world stage, particularly into the women's cricket. Women's are performing excellent. Okay, so understand this thing, that even into the sports which is associated with masculinity, women are competing. So women are challenging the existing structural ideas. Secondly, today you see women are preparing for the civil services examination. Okay, and we find that the top ranks are even being backed by the women. Okay, including this year's rank 1. Okay, then after that women are also challenging the traditional ideas. For example, they are going for higher education, and traditional idea that the education should be only for men, it is getting challenged. Women are involving in the mixed caste marriages, mixed religion marriages. Okay, this is something that has been there, and actually women from rural India, urban India, all are defying the patriarchal norms that have been there. Now when we talk about the farmers movement that started, in the farmers movement also what happened, the women's presence added a texture. It played a very important role. Basically women came, and women in the farm movements, they boosted the morale by singing the folk songs. Okay, women created the slogans, women created the songs. Women, even in very creative way, they mocked these new laws, they criticized the government in a very in a very kind of a kind of a creative way. Okay, this is something that has has happened? Women's participation, fine, actually created a kind of a festive mood, a morale of the protesters were enhanced by this particular thing. Okay, now the women, when we talk about them, always the women's are attributed with a feminine personality, and that feminine personality is expected that it will be submissive, it will be docile, it will be weak. This is a kind of a thing that has been attributed by the society. But women, they struggled with the harsh conditions, the weather, the winter season, the police harassment, the problems at the protest sites, and actually they converted this entire protest in a kind of a kind of a festival, in a kind of a situation where the festivals were celebrated. All these things have actually happened. Fine. Now, when we talk about, guys, the women's participation into the farms protest, in the initial times, women, the farm protests were unfavorable for the women. For example, the sanitation standards were very poor, safety issues were there. Okay, but actually women here also, they took the leads, and they organized themselves. They organized committees to address these issues. Okay, they made associations even within these farm associations. Many women, volunteers, lawyers, activists, they also came and they supported the women's cause within them. Is it clear or not? Now, at the same time, women onto the other side, that is the women journalist, independent media activists, particularly the women, they documented these particular events. And actually and actually this particular entire movement into the mid, it became a very gender inclusive kind of movement. Is it clear or not? So this is something which is very important, as how women movements have been changed. Moreover, at the same time, we find this particular thing that there were still gender roles, there were still gender roles that were there. For example, the division of labor was decided according to the gender. Now women, they were given the role of cooking, cleaning, taking care of the elders. Is it clear or not? Many of the women, for example, they were asked to cover their face while onto the podium. All such kind of things also happened. In some cases, women got harassed also, they got molested. Fine. Further, it was also seen that women's are landless. Okay. And actually, even because of this particular thing, what happened, women still asserted themselves. Okay. So understand this particular thing. When we talk about India, there are the class caste inequalities that have been there. Okay, and this class caste inequalities, they have been roped up within the agriculture also. Okay, and because of that particular thing, often the women are also discriminated. But when we talk about the women and the way they participated into the farm protest, women became the center stage in this entire movement. Okay, and the women activists help them, and actually this is a moment where the women's made realize their important role into the Indian society. And these kind of movements are really very important because they challenge the gender stereotypes, they challenge basically the existing notions of patriarchy, because women come here and they prove their caliber, they prove their talent in this particular, they prove their capabilities. Fine. So that is, guys, all about this particular article. And now we'll be moving to the next article. And guys, if you are liking the video, you can always hit the like button. It actually encourages us. So right now 123 people are watching, but only 31 likes are there. Okay, so I'll ask you that if it is not a very big trouble, you can please always like the video. Okay, anyhow, moving to the next article. Mulling remote vote facility for NRIs, government tells Supreme Court. Now, this particular article will be very important for GS paper number 2, for GS paper number 2, issues related to polity. GS paper number 2, issues related to the polity, and basically some of the basics we'll see here, which can be importantly utilized for the prelims examination also. So we'll understand the postal ballot system, the people who can vote through the postal ballot system. Okay, so that also we'll see here. Okay, so prelims examination, preliminary test, fine also. Now let's take the article from the very scratch. Okay, now what has happened, the postal ballot systems expansion is being talked about, is being provided by the Supreme Court, it is being provided by the union government also, that the postal ballots expansion is something that they are thinking about. Okay, we'll see that thing just in a minute, but before that we will be taking up the background as well as the value addition in the postal ballot system, because if we don't know what this postal ballot system is, we will not be able to understand, this present article. Okay, so let's understand some of the basics first. Okay, from the very scratch we'll see. Now, when we talk about the postal ballot, when we talk about the postal ballot, it is a phenomena, or it is a process by which the people who cannot physically come to the polling booths in their constituency, they can actually vote. So when we talk about a postal ballot, it is simply a facility where the voters can cast their vote remotely. Now in this particular process, what will be happening, the postal ballots will be given to the voters in an electronic manner. The voters can download that postal ballot, they can mark their choice on that particular paper, and they can post that particular ballot paper to the returning officer in their constituencies, and by that particular thing they can actually vote. Now postal ballot is actually very important for a particular type of voters. For example, the soldiers, find the soldiers who are posted into the remote locations, they cannot come to home and to participate. Okay, so for them the postal ballot system is very much important. Now when we talk about the postal ballot, there is section number 60 of the Representation of People's Act 1951, and as per the section number 60, it provides that the people who cannot come in person, they are to be given the option for the postal ballot facility. Now this is something, and the election commission requires to consult with the government that actually which will be who will be entitled to the postal ballot. Fine. Now when we talk about the postal ballot, there are a specific type of people who can take the advantage of the postal ballot voting system. So right now, who can take the postal ballot voting system's benefit? Fine. So they are number one, the members of the armed forces like the army, navy, air force. Find the members of the armed police force. Find the members of the police force who are serving out of the state. Second, the government employees posted outside India and their spouses. Then the voters under the preventive detention. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that actually when we talk about the Representation of People Act provided that people in police custody will not be allowed to vote, but as per the section 60 of the RP Act, preventive detention voters can vote. Actually, see, there is a controversy also, and I think there was an article also we discussed yesterday. So when we talk about the section 62 and section 60, there are two conflicting provisions. Section 62 provides that the people who are in police custody cannot vote, but actually the postal ballot voting facility can be given to them, but that also if the government allows. Okay, that is one thing. Then the voters above 80 years of age or the person with disabilities. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. The sixth is the special voters. Now who are the special voters? The President of India, Vice President, Governor, Cabinet Minister, Speaker of House. Fine, they can also be given the facility of the postal ballot. Now there is one change also that came into the news, and guys, if you remember, we discussed it in our newspaper also, but actually it's old thing. So in 2020 what happened, the election commission allowed that the senior citizens above the age of 65 years and the COVID-19 positive people can vote by postal ballot. So what actually happened? Fine, if you see the point number 5, the age limit is 80 years as provided into the section 60 of RPA. Now this 80 age limit has been reduced to 65 years by an amendment which came in 2020. So this is the entire postal ballot system which will happen. Now as we have seen the category of people who can use the postal ballot, actually the NRIs are not included there. Okay, the government employees who are posted outside India, they are included, but NRIs are not included. Now I just want to give you one additional reference. Okay, when we talk about the article number 326, article number 326 provides that nobody's name can be excluded from the electoral rolls, And article number 326 actually provides the constitutional right to vote, but the NRIs, okay, when they are living outside India, many number of times the NRIs are the poor workers who are living outside. Now they cannot simply fly back to the country just for the voting. So actually the article 326, which provides the constitutional right to vote, it is getting violated for the NRIs, particularly the poor workers who are posted into the Gulf countries and all such. Okay, so therefore what is happening now, the union government has provided to the Supreme Court that the union government is now considering as how to facilitate the NRIs, non-resident Indians living in the other countries, to vote remotely. Now, guys, understand this particular thing. Find the NRIs living in other countries. They have an option that they can visit the embassy or consulate, and there they can also cast the vote. But now, how remotely, directly, for example, like the postal ballot, they can cast their vote. It is being provided. Now, if this particular thing happens, it will provide the opportunity to large number of expatriates, large number of people living, particularly the people from Kerala, Tamil Nadu, northern parts. Fine, they a large number of them people are living, and they can become a decisive force into the elections of India. Moreover, we have seen this particular thing, that actually the poor workers working outside, they cannot come. Okay, so therefore, guys, in this particular direction, what had happened, there was even a bill that was introduced to amend the Representation of People Act, which allowed that earlier the bill was introduced which allowed the people to vote by the proxy. Now, what is the vote by the proxy? Vote by the proxy is that you can designate some another person on your behalf, and that particular person will go and will vote. Is it clear or not? Fine. However, the bill has been lapsed. Is it clear? Is it clear? The bill has been lapsed. So the point that comes here is that now the NRIs, they don't have much remote voting options. So now this remote voting options are again to be explored, and in that the postal ballot facility can be expanded. It could be a option. Is it clear? Fine. So this is, guys, all this entire issue. I hope that you have understood it. Okay, and now we'll move to the next article. Okay, guys, thank you so much for liking. I am really grateful to all of your support. Fine, thank you so much. Thank you. The truth about the India story. Now, this particular article, it is talking about the situation, GS paper number 3. The article is talking about the economic challenges that India is facing. Economic challenges. Okay, so the article is giving a very, very good kind of a take, and let's take all these things. Okay, now, basically, first of all, when we talk about the present times, Indian economy is facing multiple challenges. For example, Indian rupee, it is doing very poorly. It has been depreciated, and today Indian rupee is trading at 82 rupees per dollar. Inflation is at 7.41%. These are the big challenges of Indian economy. Now you see this particular thing, that these challenges are actually not unique to India. These challenges are there for other countries also. For example, today all currencies are losing out against the dollar. Today the global inflation is going on there because of the Russia-Ukraine war majorly that is going on. These are the global challenges. Fine, but actually for India there is one challenge which is very big, very significant. That is the poor employment generation. And in this particular capacity, the ILO's data is very important. ILO provides this thing that the youth unemployment between 15 to 24 year age of people, their unemployment stands at around 28.3%, which is very much high. Okay, now in this particular capacity, India comes into the group of troubled countries, the group of countries which are very poor performing. Just let's give you some data. So for example, in Iran, the youth unemployment stands around 27.2%, Egypt 24%, Syria 26.2%. In this category, actually the India is coming. Now the article provides this particular thing, that when we talk about the India's growth in the past, it has been mixed kind of growth. For example, 2020, 2020, 21, 22, GDP was growing at 8.7%, okay, which was highest in the world, highest growth rate into the world. However, 1 year back, 2021, we find that there was a minus 6.6% growth. Okay, so growth is highest into the last 21-22, but before that it is in minus 6.6%. Okay, it is provided that when we talk about the 22-23, the IMF has provided that India will grow at the rate of 6.1% positive, which is actually fair, decent. Now when we talk about India, okay, we find this thing that 21 22 we were the highest growing economy. Even 22-23 the growth rate will be decent, but why unemployment is not getting handled, why poverty is not going down? Actually it's provided that India's growth, it is not broad based. Every sector of India is not growing equally. Actually the growth is occurring at the top end, where the few corporations, they are growing and they are making the maximum profits. There is the growth that is coming. Large segment of people, they are witnessing the negative growth. Particularly if I give you the data, 91% of India's workforce is working into the unorganized informal sector. Okay, informal sector particularly 91% of workforce is working into the informal sector. Because of that particular thing, what is happening, this sector often it doesn't have proper social security. This sector is not often accounted into many of the government policies, and this sector is one which is facing the negative growth. Now the article says this particular thing, that actually the slowdown into the Indian economy started much before the COVID-19 pandemic came. 4 years before the COVID-19 pandemic the slowdown began. Okay, and why this is particularly happening, why that slowdown began? So it has provided that there are multiple reasons for this particular thing. Into the past 5-6 years, government has taken both the good as well as the bad moves at the same time. Now the good moves are responsible for high growth and the bad moves are responsible for the negative growth. For example, insolvency and bankruptcy code that we brought, which actually provide for the institutional mechanism for the liquidation, for the insolvency, good move. But then the demonetization of 2016 was a mistake as per the article. Why? Because I told you already that 91% people are in informal sector. Clear? Now guys, when we talk about informal sector, a lot of transactions happen into the cash. Okay, and a kind of an entire economical cycle was going on, and just taking out the currency out of the system simply means putting the sands in the wheels of economy. Okay, the next thing that has happened is that we have not focused onto the investment rate. Now what is investment rate? Investment rate, it is the fraction of national income that is being spent on investment such as the roads, bridges, factories, human development, infrastructure, all such kind of things. Now in India we have a very low investment rate. Now when we talk about guys the investment rate in India, it was around 30% around 2004 and 5. Okay, and over the next few years it raised to around 40%, which was very much good. But after 2015-16 it started to fall, and in 2019 1920 the India's investment rate was 32.2%, which is not very much good enough to support such a big economy. Then understand this thing, that when we talk about investment rates, it is determined by many things: monetary policy, fiscal policy, how much people are investing in investment, okay, in their human resource capabilities. All this thing is there. Presently there is a political polarization of the society that is going on. Society is divided, and because of this particular polarization, the societal trust onto the government, onto the economy, fine, all these particular things are going down. Fine. Then the next is actually what we need to focus on. We need to focus on the policy aspect, and we need to make sure that the growth of rich corporation is not only which is given importance, rather along with that small business, farmers, ordinary laborers, informal sector, unorganized sector, their growth also comes. Then after that there is a need for fiscal policy intervention. We need to transfer the money from the super rich to the poor people. We need to use the taxation in such a way that the inequality is addressed. Poor people are getting the fiscal stimulus. Now it is being provided that actually the polarization today, the society which is divided, it is also a very big problem. See, the society which is divided, it is easier to rule. We have to pull back from this. We need to create a kind of a societal trust. Okay, people need to come together, people need to be knit together in a harmony. This is something which is again going to be indirectly important. It will drive trust. That trust will lead to high investment, and that high investment will drive the economic growth. Okay, so this is a a good take that has been taken on the article. And now we'll move to the next article. The weakest link in the air fight. Okay, now this particular article will be seeing with respect to the GS paper number 3 environment. GS paper number 3 environment. Moreover, in the prelims examination, the environmental laws are there. The bodies and under which law they are constituted, that is a question which is asked into the prelims examination, and into the past also that has been asked. So for that particular part, even for the prelims examination, this editorial will be important. Now let's take that what the editorial is talking about. So basically guys, now we see this particular thing, that the winter pollution, North India is facing the winter pollution. Entire Indo-Gangetic plain, it is having the severe air quality. In this particular capacity, there are certain flagship bodies that are used to fight the pollution. For example, there are the state pollution control boards, there is the pollution control committees. Fine, they play a very important role. Now, when we talk about these state pollution control boards and the pollution control committees, they are tasked to implement the targets of the National Clean Air Program. Okay, and they spend the Finance Commission grants for improving the air quality. Now, what is this NCAP? What is the National Clean Air Program? So basically, the National Clean Air Program was launched by the Ministry of Environment in 2019. And National Clean Air Program aims to cut down the concentration of PM10 and PM2.5. PM stands for particulate matter. PM10 is that particulate very fine matter whose diameter is less than 10 microns, and PM2.5 are those particulate small matters whose diameter is less than 2.5 microns. So this PM10 and PM2.5 which is there into the environment, it is to be reduced by 20%. It is to be reduced by 20% into the next 5 years by 2017 as a baseline. So 2017 will be taken as a baseline on which the comparison will be made. The project got started in 2019, and within the 5 years 20% reduction in PM2.5 is to be done. So from 2019 to 5 years simply means 2024. So by 2024, just a minute, I'll highlight. So by 2024 the target was to be achieved. But recently a change has come. Recently, just last month, what has happened, government has provided that the target is being revised to 40%. So earlier 20%, now it has been reduced to increase to 40%, and this target is to be achieved by 2026. So the timeline is updated from 24 to 26, target is updated from 20% to 40%. Now these are some things which are important for the prelims examination. And now the second thing, there is the Central Pollution Control Board which deals with the pollution problem, and it is a statutory organization. Statutory organization means it is created under a law. Okay, which law? It was created under the Water Act of 1974, and then its mandate was expanded with the Air Act of 1981. So it is under both Air Act as well as the Water Act. And then there are the state level bodies, that is the State Pollution Control Board. So at the level of state, they will be tackling the pollution problem. Now, the question that is coming here is that, guys, actually, when we talk about the air, water, all these kind of pollutions, the SPCBs, State Pollution Control Boards, they actually play a very important role because these are the state level bodies. Now, the SPCBs, they are initially constituted under the Water Act, and then after coming of the Air Act, their mandate was expanded to include the air quality also. Okay, so today they are focusing on improving the air quality as well as water quality. Now we have expanded their mandate, but actually we have not increased their capacity. We have not enhanced the capability of the board. And multiple committees, even the Parliamentary Standing Committee, fine, have recommended this particular thing, that the SPCBs, State Pollution Control Boards, are performing very poorly. So what are the problems into the SPCBs? Number one, the composition of SPCBs. Okay, it is a very serious matter of concern. The experts are missing from these particular bodies. Now when we talk about these these state pollution control boards. Now these boards are headed by a chairperson and a member secretary, okay, and their decisions will provide as how day-to-day functioning will be done. But you see this thing, rather than having scientists, environmental experts, the 50% of the board members are the uh, potential polluters, local authorities, industries, public sector corporations. So local authorities, industries, public sector corporations, they are represent the 50% of the membership. Now they are the biggest polluter. So obviously, if any stringent control is to be brought, they will not be bringing that. It will lead to conflict of interest. Then understand this particular thing: scientists, medical practitioner, academicians, they have just a 7% representation, and often they are not able to get scientific advices implemented. Then the next thing is that the board is not even meeting the statutory requirement of having at least two board members who have the knowledge of air quality management. So air quality experts are not there. The next thing that is coming here is that the chairperson and the secretary, they don't have a long stable tenure. Now they are changed very frequently. For example, in 18 days the chairperson got changed in 18 days in Chhattisgarh. 15 days a member secretary was changed in Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. In very short tenures, obviously they will not be implement any strategic intervention, any strategic policy they cannot bring. Fine. Then the third is that these SPCBs are critically understaffed. 40% of the sanctioned posts, they are lying vacant across the SPCBs. Okay, vacancies 84% in Jharkhand, 75% in Bihar and Haryana. So if they don't have adequate staff, how they'll be able to perform? So the point is that the pollution regulation, which is a vital function, they cannot be done if they don't have the staff. So capacity building, capability building, and to have the expert member, it is the need of an hour to deal with the pollution problem in India. Okay, so that is all guys about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. Okay, a very good article for the environment, and both important for the prelims as well as the mains examination. That is all, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Okay, SCO meet Jaishankar targets BRI. Okay, now guys, what has happened recently, the virtual meet of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization has been held. Fine. Now this particular article will be important for the prelim examination in the bodies. Fine, because of the SCO, the members, etc. can be asked. So the prelims examination, and secondly for the mains examination, GS paper number 2, we'll see it under the IR international groupings. Okay, now a little bit of information about the SCO, important for your prelims examination and in the mains examination also. Why? Because SCO is very important this year. See, SEO, it started as a Shanghai 5 in 1996. Okay. Now what happened? What happened actually? 1991, there was the collapse of the USSR that happened, and after the collapse of the USSR, fine, demarcation of the newly formed countries were to be done, demilitarizations was to be done between the countries. Fine. So therefore, what happened? Shanghai 5 as a body got instituted between Kazakhstan, China, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, and Tajikistan. It was a body to facilitate the cooperation between them five. However, what happened over the years, the other countries also entered. For example, Uzbekistan made an entry in 2001, and after the coming of the Uzbekistan, Shanghai 5 got changed into the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and a new charter was signed in 2002, which listed the new priorities, new areas on which the SCO will be focusing on. Okay, fine. So it became actually a Eurasian political, economic, military organization. Economic, political, military organization which aims to maintain peace, security, stability. When we talk about the SCO, guys, today it is the largest regional organization. For example, it covers 60% of the area of Eurasia. 40% of the world population is covered, because China, the most populous country, is the part of that. Fine. More than 30% of the global GDP is covered. Okay, India today is also the biggest part of one of the big part of that. So big proportion of population. Now India, Pakistan, when we talk about, they were not member initially. India and Pakistan have joined recently. In 2017, India and Pakistan joined, and now latest country to join, Iran. Iran joined into 2022. This is important for the prelims examination. Now, on the SCO, the question can come because, guys, India is going to assume the chairmanship of SCO for 2023. Okay, and 2023 SCO summit will be hosted by India. Now, the priorities of SCO is to strengthen mutual trust, to promote cooperation, enhance education ties, energy, transport, tourism, peace, security, all these things are the priorities of the SEO. Okay, now when we talk about SEO, within the SEO there is also the rats. Okay, now the rats, okay, now rats, it is the permanent body within the SEO, and it focuses on fighting the terrorism. Okay, focuses on terrorism. Now as this SEO, all these are the details of the SEO important for both prelims and mains. Now guys, recently what has happened in this particular article? So Minister of External Affairs has addressed a virtual meeting of the SCO, and there he has provided this particular thing, that on enhancing India is focusing on enhancing more trade with the SEO through the Chabahar port that we have developed into the Iran. So guys, in the Iran, India has developed the Chabahar port. Okay, moreover, within the Iran, there is also one more port. Okay, that is the Shahid Beshti port. Now, Shahid Beshti port is one which will connect the Russia with the with the Iran, and in between the entire Central Asia will be connected. So this is the international north-south transport corridor. So recently, international north-south transport corridor has been connected, which will connect the Russia with the Iran, and in between all the Central Asian countries will get a connectivity. Now India can directly go to Iran, and from Iran it can directly reach to the Central Asia and the Russia through the international north-south transport corridor, and Shahid Beshti terminal has also been developed. Okay, then guys, apart from that, the Chabahar port, fine. So the Chabahar port as well as the international north-south transport corridor, they are very much important, which will improve the bilateral trade of India with the countries into the Central Asia. Now India has also commented that actually some of the countries, now this is a indication to China, they are taking the connectivity project, for example the Belt and Road Initiative. Now these connectivity projects should respect the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of the member states. Now you see this thing, that as the China is running the BRI, which is a connectivity project, within the BRI, China Pakistan Economic Corridor is a project. Now China Pakistan Economic Corridor is going through the POK. Now POK, it is a territory of India which has been illegally captured by Pakistan. So actually, as the CPC is going through the Indian territory which is illegally captured by the Pakistan, it is a sensitive matter. So these particular matters need to be respected. Okay, so connectivity should respect the sovereignty of the member states. Is it clear? So this is something that has been provided. Fine. So I told you that the Shahid Beshti terminal at Shahbar has been developed. Okay. And as a part of the INSTC, please remember actually two projects separately. There is a Chabahar one and the INSTC as another one. Okay. Fine. Now moving on to the next article. Penalizing doctors will not penalizing doctors will help prevent two-finger test onto the rape victims. Now, guys, actually, this particular article is talking about the two-finger test which has been held as invalid. Now, rather than going in these particular articles, fine, I have discussed this entire issue of the two-finger test. For example, what is this two-finger test, what Supreme Court has done, what has happened into the past. So the yesterday's newspaper analysis, this entire two-finger test has been discussed. So I will advise you that basically please go and watch this. Into the yesterday's newspaper you will get the timestamp, and into the timestamp you can see this entire article. Moreover, you can download it also. So rather than going in this article, I'll suggest where we have discussed this entire issue. Fine. Now move to the next article. Invasive tree spreading in Muddumalai Tiger Reserve. So for the prelims examination, we'll see some basic aspects. Now guys, understand that when we talk about the invasive species, who are the invasive species? Invasive species are those species which enter an ecosystem and they spread very fast. And as they spread very fast, the native varieties of that particular place, they are taken over by these invasive species. Now, there is the Muddumalai Tiger Reserve, which is being discussed here. Now, when we talk about the Muddumalai Tiger Reserve, it is into the Nilgiri Hills. It is into the Nilgiri Hills in the Tamil Nadu. Okay. Now, within the Muddumalai Tiger Reserve, the Sena, spectabilis, which is an exotic tree. Exotic means it is from outside. It has taken over 800 to 1200 hectares of the land, and the native species are being compromised with that. Now, when we talk about this Sema spectibus, it was introduced as an ornamental species. Ornamental species is that, now if you see the tree, tree looks very beautiful. So for the ornamental purpose it was introduced, and it was introduced for the firewood from the South and the Central America. So there it is a native species, but now it has become invasive in the Sigur Plateau. Okay, Sigur Plateau, it is the plateau fine within the southern peninsular India, majorly at around Tamil Nadu, clear, Karnataka and all such things. Okay, so there it has taken over a lot of land. Now, how the Tamil Nadu is trying to deal with this particular problem? So recently it has been decided that Tamil Nadu News Print and Papers Limited, which makes the print paper, they have decided that this Sena spectabilis will be used to make the paper for the newsprints. Then this is some one policy, but still guys, it is a very big problem and it is rooting the native species. Now there are the 5 categories of the exotic species which are very problematic for India. There is the Sena spectabilis, then the lantana camera. You might have heard the lantana camera also into the news. Few days back we also discussed it, okay, when we were discussing the vulture article. Okay, then the wattle is there. Then there is a eucalyptus and pine. These are the 5 varieties of species which are exotic and invasive. But eucalyptus and pine, though they are exotic, but they don't spread that quickly, so they are not that big problem. Big problem are the Senna spectabilis, lantana camera and wattle. So these are the big issues throughout the southern India and in some parts of central and north India also. That is all about it. Now guys, let's move to the next article. Independence is key to the quality election, says poll commissioner. So what has happened recently? Recently, the election commissioner has provided this thing, that independence of election is very important. Okay. Now this particular thing can be used as a reference in GS paper number 2, electoral reforms, or electoral issues. Independence is very important. And in this particular direction, the election commissioner has provided that collective actions on the part of election management bodies across the world is needed. So that, for example, election commission of India, election commission of US, European countries, all they should come together and they should facilitate each other in order to make sure that how free elections can be conducted. It has been provided that mutual cooperation. Okay, I hope you are able to see it. Okay, no. So it has been provided that mutual cooperation, continuous engagement, knowledge sharing amongst the global electoral bodies, it will make sure that the regular, transparent, free elections are there. And these regular, transparent, free elections are the key to democracy. So therefore, the election management bodies across the world, just a minute, election management bodies across the world should come together and should facilitate it. Fine. So that is all guys about it. And now we'll come to the mains practice question for today. So today's mains practice question, it says that India's frontline environmental regulator, the State Pollution Control Board, are facing institutional challenge, which has major implication on air quality governance. Suggest the measures to overcome institutional challenges. So this is an article from GS paper number 3, environment. Fine. This will be a 15 marker question. Write it. Fine, you can take the inspiration from the editorial that we discussed today. So that is all guys for the today's newspaper analysis. I hope that you have understood it and I hope that you have enjoyed it. So that is all for today. Take care of yourselves, and guys, I am really thankful to all the support, to all the likes and your comments that you leave here. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Thank